We don't. The hospital makes the decision to lock down.
Your hospitals don't know. Your police officers don't know that protocol because they were like, we didn't tell them lock it down. Let me be clear from the beginning. I'm an activist, a loud one. This is what I do for a living, and I promise you, do not fuck up anything with my son. Not a damn thing starting from right now. If Dumb and Dumber don't know why the hospital got locked down, then that's why I asked for a supervisor.
They locked the hospital down because there was a shooting.
No shit. My son was the one who was killed, and I'm not allowed to see him. Me and his father can't go in. Where are his parents?
Yes, unfortunately.
And a dumbass around the corner says, well, he's 24. He's an adult. He's still my motherfucking kid. Y'all have no compassion, no nothing. None. Stoneface 1 and 2 just been standing here. They didn't even come over to me when I was identified. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? This is why I left this county, because y'all are the worst police officers with the worst training. You sitting there looking around with a dumb look on your face. I'm telling you now, you can get your person's number and you can give me their information. I'm not doing this with y'all. I will burn Howard County the fuck down. And I mean that shit. I know this county in and out. I will burn it down. So when the hospital gets locked down, perhaps Dumb and Dumber and your other officers should know. And then they should be able to have more compassion for the parents, because that's my son's motherfucking car that they drove him in. He didn't drive himself. So I want to see my son. His father wants to see his son. We are his parents. What the hell is your problem? Why not advocate to help us see our son? I go to start videoing, asking for information around the front. They turn their backs. So you can give me your card too, and your supervisor's information. This is what the fuck we go through as black people. How the fuck I get pulled up, I pull up over here and the officers just stand there because I'm non-existent, as if his father isn't trying to fucking hold me up. No compassion. Still fucking Stoneface, please get them away. Get them away, get them away, get them away, get them away. Have somebody else come over here, get them. I'm not gonna move. I'm all of 5'5", 160 pounds. I'm not moving.
Can I talk to you over here for a second, please?
Oh, of course. Now they want to talk to his father off to the side.
Can I do anything for you? I know that they're not doing anything that you want done, but
they're not doing anything.
So when I went to ask them so that you could have some answers, what happened is...
I know that they were shot. I know they came in different ways. I'm still his mom.
Of course you are. And I can tell you that when I've done this not in a hospital setting, moms always get to see. But
he's cleaned up his uncle identified him. His uncle that works here, even though I'm his mom and I'm on his emergency contact.
I know. But so I told them, they obviously know you want to go in. They don't have any authority right now because the detectives took it over.
Where's the detectives? I have not seen one. Oh, you know what? Then they lied to me in the front because I asked where they were and they were like, oh, they're not here yet.
They might not. I mean,
somebody should be out here telling me something. This is not the way that it should be going.
That's why that's one of the reasons why they.
That's why they called us, because
please get a detective. I'm not dealing with these officers anymore. Please get a detective.
So they will absolutely come out to talk to you, but you can't. We have no ability to make it a.
No, I understand.
Like the second, but I promise you, they will come out. They're. We've done this enough to know. I've just never done it at the hospital before. But they called
the crisis unit because I'm at the hospital and I was yelling at the officers because when I went to ask for their badges and they were so condescending, they turned their backs on me.
No, they would have called us anyway.
Yeah, they call us.
They always call us.
They never offered to call before I flipped out. I'm telling you now.
I'm sorry.
They never offered to call before I flipped out. Never.
I hear you.
I know, come on. Tell them not leaving yet.
No. Okay.
So,
That's right. Keep covering your badge. That's attitudes.
First of all,
that's
not
what
officers.
I know for sure. I'm not talking to you, and all of you are going to turn around. Oh, it's the wall of blue, right? It's the wall of blue.
Can you just give us a minute?
No, I can't. No, where the fuck is my son?
He's in the hospital.
I know he's in the fucking hospital. Why is it so difficult to get in, and I'm his parent?
How old is your son?
I don't give a flying fuck.
I'm just asking out of curiosity.
24.
Okay. He's an adult, so he has his own rights medically.
Yo, are you fucking kidding me right now?
I'm
You
not
nasty
kidding
ass son of a bitch. Are you kidding right now?
I'm just asking you to give us a minute and wait.
No, there is no minute.
Can you be reasonable
There
with
is.
us, please?
This motherfucker just told me be reasonable. Be reasonable about what. And I'm looking at my son's fucking car that someone told him that he got drove up in and he got shot at. Somebody's going to tell me something. That's what I fucking know right now. That's what I know right now. Officers hiding their faces and shit like people are dumb or don't have fucking Zoom cameras.
Howard County Police need your help to solve a triple shooting that left one man dead. It all unfolded at this gas station in Columbia. Hello, everybody. I'm Nikki Zizaza.
And I'm Rick Ritter. Welcome to those of you watching on CBS News Baltimore and right here on WJZ. And we are live where this all played out at 5 o'clock tonight as Dennis Valera spoke exclusively with the victim's mother. Dennis.
Rick and Nikki, Dylan Perez's mother describes her son as one of her best friends, and she says he was only in the area picking up a friend when this shooting happened. Now, police do have a reward for up to $5,000 for any information that could lead to an arrest in this shooting. In the meantime, Perez's mother, she says that whoever did this, that they should turn themselves in. Sunny LaLuz admits she and her son Dylan Perez were not always on the same page, but they were close.
He wasn't perfect, but he was my perfect.
He was working his way to enroll in Morgan State to get a business degree. LaLuz says he was a loving brother, father, and uncle.
So he was taking off, finally. And someone took him from me. And they took him from his son. And they took him from his niece. And they took him from his cousins and his father and his brothers and his sisters. They took him.
Howard County Police say close to 10 p.m. Monday, officers heard gunshots near the Exxon gas station on 4th and Garth. There, they found a man who'd been shot. He was taken to shock trauma. But close to 10:15, Perez and another man showed up at Howard County General. Perez dying shortly after.
I was really proud of who he was. He was a really good man.
Wallet Hub just recently named Columbia as the safest city in Maryland. While police haven't released anything on the suspects or potential motive, they said they believe this is a targeted shooting.
While no place in the country is immune to violence, even the safest places, we don't believe there's a public safety threat to the general public at this time.
While she's grateful there's a reward for information, LaLuz just wants whoever killed her son to go to police themselves.
What I want is the cowards who decided to ambush, because that's essentially what they did, ambush and tried to kill 3 people. And my son is the one that's dead. Turn yourself in. That would be your best bet, sir.
Again, there is a $5,000 reward for any information. More details on how you can make a tip up on our website, WJZ.com. Reporting live in Columbia, I'm Dennis Valera for WJZ.
Good evening. Thank you for joining me here for Talk About It Tuesday. If you have a TikTok account and you feel so inclined, please follow Miss Sunny Laluz. She's in deep need of our support now more than ever. Not only is she grieving the loss of her son, like I pointed out in the piece that played in the opening, she is being heavily trolled by racists for no other reason than they are getting their rocks off by disparaging her son, who has not even been deceased for a full 24 hours. With that, let's get caught up on recent news. Regarding what's going on with the genocide of Palestinians, in the description of this video is a link to a full playlist with all of the information that I can gather and confirm to be accurate. Also, on today's audio podcast on Spotify, there's a history of 20th century genocides to help put things in perspective. Now, for the rest of these updates, I'm going to take you from yesterday up and through today. That makes sense. Let's start with Trump and his legal woes. Regarding the election case, there was a partial gag order that was instituted yesterday. That means that there would be no targeting of anyone involved in the case and no discussing publicly any aspect of the case. Trump's attorneys are appealing the ruling. A stay of this is going to be unlikely, meaning he's not going to be able to just say what he wants to say as the appeal is going through, is being processed, rather. The sanctions could likely be fines or jail, and Trump's attorneys questioned if Judge Chutkan would really jail a presidential candidate because they're really leaning on that to get him out of consequences. But what they need to keep in mind is that the conditions of his release can be changed due to him violating this order or any other orders imposed by the court. The limited gag order prohibits Trump, like I said, from targeting through speech, post, and repost the special anything negative or targeting towards the special counsel and staff, the judge and court staff, and witnesses regarding their role in the case. He can criticize Mike Pence and political opponents, but he cannot say anything specifically about the case and them. He cannot basically incite a pretrial smear campaign. And due to the plausibility of an appeal of this gag order, the Supreme Court may be weighing in regarding the First Amendment and former presidents and the judicial system. Judge Chutkan's narrow gag order was broken in the same day, of course, by Trump via a campaign speech at his Iowa rally and through Truth Social post. Once again, Trump cannot talk about the case, crimes, anyone involved outside of court. The judge noted today that Trump has the power to incite/influence violence, and the appeal is going to be a little difficult, some people are saying, because in the Constitution, it does not address the likes of Trump. Trump's rhetoric will most definitely, according to a lot of legal pundits, lead to increased litigation. And Trump has been on a roll with his rants and rampages. Let's take a look.
I understand candidates that are losing by 57 to 70 points are getting together with Rhino Paul Ryan, Mitt the Loser Romney, Bill No Guts or No Talent Barr, and some broken political investors that will soon come to me, as most others already have. These failed candidates should have started by campaigning effectively, which they didn't because they really don't have the skill or the talent to do so. Romney, who today couldn't get elected dog catcher in the great state of Utah, should have beaten an absolutely failed first-term Obama. Should have beaten him very easily. If he and Rhino Paul fought as hard against Obama as they do against President Donald J. Trump, they would never have lost. They would have beaten Obama. But remember, Republicans eat their young. They really do. They eat their young. Terrible statement, but it's true. And that's the problem with so many in our party. They just don't have the loyalty and the strength to stick together. They go after people who are on their side rather than the radical left Democrats that are destroying our country. These people are losers, and the Republican nation must stop following their failed ideas and policies. They only help the worst president in the history of the United States, the most corrupt president, the most incompetent president, crooked Joe Biden. We don't want to help him. We have to get him out of office.
Sorry, Republicans eat what now? He said they eat their young? Why? So, two things here. First, clearly, the teleprompter said eat their own, but because Donald Trump is an idiot with a tenuous at best grasp of the English language, he decided to suggest not once but twice that Republicans eat their young. And second, while we're on the topic of not being able to read teleprompters, I'd like to draw your attention to just one of the many times that Trump beat his chest about how talented he is with a teleprompter and how untalented Joe Biden is.
Our country's been through a lot. And even today, there's no teleprompter working. It's just nice. This has happened oftentimes. Now, if this happens to Biden, it's big trouble. If it happens to me, we get through it, right? We just get through it.
All right. If it happens to Biden, we're in trouble. Although last time I checked, Joe Biden didn't claim that he was eating children, but hey, what do I know? And let's be clear, the frequency of these Trump gaffes has surged in the last few weeks. I get it happening a couple of times, but by now, we are way, way past a couple. This is what I mean.
But I know you never paid, under your administration, you guys never paid ransom.
Coming through, Brian, it's all coming. And Obama wants to, he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to mention, he doesn't even mention them in his statements. It's all coming through Iran.
Well, you mean President Biden. So, but right now.
I also mean Obama.
What do you mean?
I mean Obama and Biden, but Obama is Biden's boss, in case you didn't really know that.
As you know, crooked Joe Biden and the radical left thugs who have weaponized law enforcement to arrest their leading political opponent, and leading by a lot, including Obama. I'll tell you what, you take a look at Obama and take a look at some of the things that he's done. This is the same thing. The country is very divided. And we did with Obama. We won an election that everyone said couldn't be won. We beat Hillary Clinton. Now, you know, I used to call her Crooked Hillary.
And then they took a poll and they found out Trump was up by about 50 points. Everyone said, what's going on right here? They thought Bush, because Bush supposedly was a military person. Great. You know what? He was a military. He got us into the Middle East. How did that work out, right? But they all thought that Bush might win. Jeb. Remember Jeb?
We have a man who is totally corrupt and the worst president in the history of our country, who is cognitively impaired, in no condition to lead, and is now in charge of dealing with Russia and possible nuclear war. Just think of it. We would be in World War II very quickly.
Again, I understand if you confuse a word or two here and there, but in just the last few weeks, Donald Trump has suggested that Obama is the current president, that he beat Obama in 2016, that Jeb Bush got us involved in the war in the Middle East, and that World War II hasn't happened yet. At some point, it becomes apparent that maybe the guy isn't working with a full deck of cards here. And by the way, that point is so obvious that even Fox News' Jessica Tarloff pointed it out on Fox's air.
And I put together some of Trump's latest cognitive beauties from the last 10 days. He said you need an ID to buy bread. Has anyone shown ID to get Wonder Bread lately? He said that he ran against Obama in 2016. He ran against Hillary Clinton. He warned that Biden will get us into World War II, which I'm pretty sure we already fought and won. And yesterday, he confused Jeb Bush and George W. Bush and said that Jeb got us involved in the Middle East. And then, of course, there are his authoritarian posts on Truth Social calling for the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to be executed and saying that he's going to investigate media companies that he doesn't like. And can you imagine if Biden said, you know what, I'm going to look into that Fox News. They don't seem to like me over there.
And look, none of this is to point out that suddenly Donald Trump might not be performing at the peak of his game here. I don't think any of this is news to anyone. But what it should tell us is that when Republicans wail on an endless loop about Biden being in cognitive decline, they are projecting. They are trying to distract you from the fact that I'm not sure Trump could have done anything dumber in the wake of a gag order than this.
Today, a judge put on a gag order. I'll be the only politician in history that runs with a gag order where I'm not allowed to criticize people. Can you imagine this? Do you believe this? I'm not allowed to criticize people. So we'll see. We'll appeal it, and we'll see. But it's so unconstitutional. The good thing is we have so much support. It's incredible. And it just makes it even more so. Look, I'm the only guy that ever got indicted. I got indicted more than Alphonse Capone. Did anyone ever hear of Al Capone? If you looked at him the wrong way, he was seriously tough, right? Scarface. You know, they call him Scarface. Had a little scar in there. I'm sure it was a minor accident, but he was Scarface. But Al Capone, if you looked at him in the wrong way, if he didn't like you, you looked at him a little bit askance, he blew your brains out. He was only indicted one time. I've been indicted 4 times. And in addition, I have these civil trials that are all coming out of the Justice Department. They've weaponized the Justice Department and the FBI. A judge gave a gag order today. Did you hear that on speech? Which I believe is totally unconstitutional, what she did. A judge gave a gag order. A judge doesn't like me too much. Her whole life is not liking me. But she gave a gag order. You know what a gag order is? You can't speak badly about your opponent. But this is weaponry all being done because Joe Biden is losing the election and losing very, very badly to all of us.
Leave it to Donald Trump to be on the receiving end of a gag order and then during his first public appearance to attack the judge who issued it. If Judge Chutkan needed any validation for her actions, it didn't take long for her to get it. Now, in terms of the gag order itself, Judge Chutkan imposed a narrowly tailored gag order that'll include restrictions on statements about Special Counsel Jack Smith, about court staff, and about possible witnesses. Judge Chutkan said, without this restriction, there's a risk witnesses can be intimidated, which would prevent other witnesses from coming and testifying and cooperating, which, of course, is the entire point. Donald Trump may be an anti-democratic brute who may or may not be able to pass a 7th grade spelling test, but he knows how to intimidate, extort, and manipulate people, which is why this gag order was desperately needed. Now, the most important question here, what happens if and when Trump violates it? Here's Glenn Kirshner during a recent episode of The Legal Breakdown explaining exactly that point.
So they discussed today, I was in the courtroom today, they discussed what sanctions might be imposed, what might be available. And the following sanctions were mentioned. Financial penalties, home detention, criminal contempt, and revocation of pretrial release. In other words, sitting Donald Trump in a jail cell pending trial. All of those are on the table. I think they are all well within the realm of possibilities. I do think when Donald Trump first violates the pretrial release conditions, the gag order, you know, it will be a lower level punishment, maybe a financial penalty, which of course he'll just grift off his base. He's already fundraising off the gag order, but I think it will pretty quickly escalate up to and including pretrial detention. In fact, John Lauro, Donald Trump's criminal defense attorney, actually said at one point, okay, so Judge, what are you going to do? Put Donald Trump in a jail cell? And Judge Chutkan just kind of sat back and let that hang in the air.
Now, ahead of the inevitable pearl clutching by Trump's allies, it's important to note that this gag order was absolutely expected, given that he had already violated the terms of his pretrial release. When Trump was being arraigned for this very case in Washington, D.C., here's what the magistrate judge said to him, quote, "Your most important condition of release, sir, is that you not commit a state, federal, or local crime while on release. If you were to do so, again, a warrant may be issued for your arrest, your conditions of release may be revoked, and you may be held pending trial in this case." And I hope you listen closely to the words state crime, because that's what he did. Donald Trump, within days of getting that warning, took to Truth Social and wrote, "I am reading reports that failed former Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Jeff Duncan, will be testifying before the Fulton County grand jury. He shouldn't. I barely know him, but he was, right from the beginning of this witch hunt, a nasty disaster for those looking into the election fraud that took place in Georgia." So let's be clear. Trump states in his own post that he knows Jeff Duncan Duncan will be testifying, thereby making it clear that he is aware he is a witness, and then he goes on to state that he shouldn't testify, meaning that Trump is publicly pressuring a known witness not to testify against him. And that's not only a crime in the state of Georgia, but a violation of the very condition of his release that he expressly agreed to in the D.C. courtroom. He then did it again with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, putting out a post on Truth Social that said, quote, Mark Milley, who led perhaps the most embarrassing moment in American history with his grossly incompetent implementation of the withdrawal from Afghanistan, costing many lives, leaving behind hundreds of American citizens, and handing over billions of dollars of the finest military equipment ever made, will be leaving the military next week. This will be a time for all citizens of the USA to celebrate. This guy turned out to be a woke train wreck who, if the fake news reporting is correct, was actually dealing with China to give them a heads up on the thinking of the President of the United States. This is an act so egregious that, in times gone by, the punishment would have been death. A war between China and the United States could have been the result of this treasonous act, to be continued. And, not for nothing, but the punishment for treason is still death, meaning if he's accusing Milley of treason, he's effectively saying that he should be executed, meaning this is yet another instance of Trump finding someone who has direct, first-hand knowledge of the events that took place leading up to and on January 6th and using his mob boss tactics to dissuade them from testifying against him. So if the Trump team suggests that there's no basis for a gag order against him, you might want to point them to their client's own words compared with the conditions of his release that those words directly violate. Now, of course, you'll notice from Trump's remarks from the video at the top that he claims he isn't allowed to talk about Joe Biden, suggesting that the judge is preventing him from speaking about his political opponent during an election, which certainly could be a violation of his free speech rights. The problem is that Judge Chutkan's gag order did no such thing. Again, the only prohibitions are on Trump's speech regarding court staff, the prosecutor, and witnesses. Trump can say whatever he wants about Joe Biden. And the fact that he had to come out and lie about what that gag order actually says shows that it was actually well-founded. Because if he had any legitimate grievance with it, he'd have taken the opportunity to air it. But because it was all completely warranted, instead his only move was to lie and pretend that it prevented him from talking about Biden, which it absolutely does not do. He also claimed that it was unconstitutional, suggesting that the gag order is a violation of his First Amendment rights. But again, that is dead wrong. Here again is Glenn Kirshner explaining why the First Amendment can be curbed in deference to the administration of justice and to protecting witnesses.
So the First Amendment is not absolute, particularly as it applies to somebody who is on release pending trial, because that person is subjected to the conditions set for them by the court to protect the orderly administration of justice, to protect the jury pool from being tainted, to protect the witnesses who are expected to testify at trial. And the judge said this over and over again in today's hearing. The First Amendment is not absolute, particularly for somebody on pretrial release. So the First Amendment claim sounds good, but all sorts of constitutional rights actually can and do yield when you are a charged defendant in a federal felony case on release pending trial. For example, a judge can impose a curfew. A judge can tell you can't go out of your house after 8 p.m. Well, if you were not in a pretrial status, a judge or a government official could never impose that kind of restraint on your movement. The same holds true with the First Amendment. It yields to the extent that the judge has a responsibility to ensure a free trial untainted by statements made by a defendant, and the Supreme Court has made that clear over and over again.
Remember, too, this is now the second gag order that Trump's been hit with. Just 2 weeks ago, Judge Engoron imposed one in the New York civil suit. That partial gag order came as the result of Trump posting about Judge Engoron's clerk in a now-deleted Truth Social post, showing a photo of the clerk posing with Chuck Schumer, insinuating a personal relationship between the two, and calling out the clerk by name, down to the middle initial. And if you're wondering whether it was necessary to even include her middle initial, that might help explain the goal here, which, by the way, is always the goal: to endanger her family, intimidate her and other clerks and other witnesses and other judges and other prosecutors into not prosecuting Donald Trump, because it could mean that somebody gets hurt in the process. Trump may be, again, diabolical and morally bankrupt, but he's not stupid. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he knows exactly how his supporters, who have already proven themselves dangerous, will take the information that he's giving them. Which is why a gag order was desperately needed, and the fact that one was imposed is yet another sign, despite how long it's taken to get here that Trump is not above the law. And while the wheels of justice certainly move slowly, we're at least seeing them move. And that's not great news for a guy currently contending with 91 charges in 4 different jurisdictions. One would think that focusing on bolstering his defenses would be more important than attacking witnesses, but then you know what they say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
All righty. Now, coming from the Associated Press, Trump returns to his civil fraud trial. Here's an employee and an appraiser testify against him. Donald Trump returned Tuesday to the civil fraud trial that imperils his real estate empire. Watching and deploring the case as an employee and an outside appraiser testified that his company essentially put a thumb on the scale when sizing up his property's values. Incensed by a case that disputes his net worth and could strip him of such signature holdings as Trump Tower, the former president is due to testify later in the trial. But he chose to attend the first 3 days and came back Tuesday to observe and to protest his treatment to the news cameras waiting outside the Manhattan courtroom. Outside of the blow to his ego that this case is, and we know previously he was showing up to court to avoid the deposition in the case he had against Michael Cohen that he ended up dropping because he still doesn't want to give the deposition. He thought that he was going to be able to sue on the back of his lies, and that Michael Cohen, an attorney himself, would not have his attorneys depose him. This is also getting back a little bit of his ego. It's giving him a little bit of an ego boost because he can posture and grandstand with the backdrop of the courtroom, with the backdrop of the courthouse, and say whatever it is he wants to say, however he wants to say it, how much he wants to say it. Because nobody's stopping him. Nobody's giving him pushback. Nobody's questioning him. Not to his face. Are there reporters and outlets that aren't showing the footage of him and are criticizing it? Yes, but what good is it when other networks aren't catching your reporters giving him pushback as they're recording? No matter the circumstance, silence is compliance. But let's continue. Star witness Michael Cohen, a one-time Trump fixer, now turned foe, postponed his scheduled testimony because of a health problem. Instead, Trump company accountant Donna Kidder testified that she was told to make some assumptions favorable to the firm on internal financial spreadsheets. Outside appraiser Doug Larson said he didn't suggest or condone a former Trump organization controller's methods of valuing properties. And yes, I know Trump was probably there for a face-off with Michael Cohen, but we already know Michael Cohen is not intimidated by Trump at this point. Michael Cohen has testified in court, testified before Congress, been on so many news outlets, dogging the crap. Like, Trump is not going, but you know what? Trump has the confidence for the gods. Absolutely has the confidence for the gods. And coming from CBS News, instead of coming face-to-face with Michael Cohen, Trump confronts emails and spreadsheets at New York trial. The original plan for Tuesday's proceedings in Donald Trump's civil fraud trial in New York would have had the former president coming face-to-face with one of his most prominent critics, his former attorney, Michael Cohen. Cohen was expected to be called, to the stand with Trump in the courtroom, the former president's 4th appearance at the trial that is now in its 3rd week, but Cohen is experiencing a health issue that meant he couldn't testify just yet. So Trump instead, confronted with testimony about small, mundane detail, brief emails, notes, and spreadsheet 1,000 lines deep that New York Attorney General Letitia James said were building blocks for widespread fraud. James's civil suit alleges that Trump, his children, and the Trump Organization, well, his children minus Ivanka, because we still ain't seen her, overstated the value of many of his real estate properties to get more favorable terms on loans and insurance. The state claims he made hundreds of millions in ill-gotten gains through falsely inflating his wealth. Judge Arthur Engoron, who is overseeing the case, already found the defendants liable for fraud in September. The trial is proceeding on several other accusations, including falsification of business records and conspiracy. Trump and his co-defendants have denied all wrongdoing. Trump would deny any and everything every single time. We've watched Trump say stuff and 2 minutes later claim he didn't say it. And his sycophants go right along with it. He didn't say it. He didn't say it. You didn't see him say that. You didn't hear him say it. Yeah, we did. Our ears worked. Even those of us like me that only have one ear that works, we still heard it. A quick update on Joseph Zionistic Biden. Coming from ABC News, Israel Gaza updates. Biden en route to Israel condemns attack on Gaza hospital. Then why are you going to see the wrong people, my boy? But I guess. Once again, there is an entire playlist. It is entitled Palestine 2023. It's got history. It's got footage of today's bombing and a lot more in it. Jewish American individuals speaking on Palestine. You name it. In Israel, at least 1,400 people have died and 3,400 others have been injured since the terrorist group Hamas launched an unprecedented attack on October 7th, according to Israeli authorities. According to Israeli authorities. Because Israeli authorities are still not letting anybody in. No, it's the no feathers on this hat. So Biden is on his way and is set to arrive tomorrow at some point. An additional trip to Jordan has been postponed for now. And keep in mind, this is the second time this year that Joseph dumbass Zionist Biden has decided to, as a sitting president, like we don't have enough to stress out about here, to visit ground zero of a war. Oh my goodness. Now let's get into Ramaswamy and the GOP and their views on birthright citizenship. Yes, yeah.
I favor ending birthright citizenship for the kids of illegal immigrants in this country.
Thanks to each wave of new arrivals to this land of opportunity, we're a nation forever young.
We built hundreds of miles of border wall, and despite what's said here today, we reduced illegal immigration and asylum abuse by 90%.
Rather than making them or talking about putting up a fence, make it possible for them to come here legally with a work permit. And when they want to go back, they can go back and they can cross and open the border both ways.
This border is going to be a day one issue for me as president. We're going to declare it a national emergency. Yes, we'll build the wall.
If we ever closed the door to new Americans, our leadership in the world would soon be lost.
Joe Biden should not be on the picket line. He should be on the southern border working to close our southern border.
Anyone from any corner of the earth can come to live in America and become an American.
They always say they love Reagan. They always say they love these presidents. You can always tell they have no idea what these presidents did, what they stood for, no, nothing. They say it because those that were alive during those presidencies are still alive now. And those that, were gung-ho Reagan, we love Reagan, white boomers, they're still voting. So that's why these people are saying this. But let's really take a look at this. Ramaswamy says to end birthright citizenship. So you, your mother, your father, your siblings should be up out of here, right? We have asylum abuse going on. So if you want to call it abuse, then maybe the United States should stop sticking their nose in every other country's business, because that would be abuse, and maybe give them their resources and their money back and they wouldn't come here. And the president shouldn't be on the picket lines. He should be at the southern border, not any other border. Not the eastern, the western, the northern, just the southern border. Black men said what? How do you market yourself as the melting pot and try to teach children nowadays that all culture should be shared and tell all these anecdotal stories of your great grandfather or your mother coming to this country and they didn't speak a lick of English and they had $20 in their pocket, and if they made it here, they could make it anywhere, and so can you. But you don't want anybody in here. But see, there was no border problem. There was no asylum abuse. There was no issue with immigrants when Ukrainians sought asylum here. There were all sorts of news stories popping up how Ukrainian former foreign exchange students were sneaking into the country, sneaking right on in and making it to their former host families. And these people know the hypocrisy, the bigotry, the prejudice, the biases, the utter racism, because as soon as they let them in, they immediately ran to the press. They weren't worried about ICE or Border Patrol coming to their door, taking anybody away. They knew they weren't going to be separated from anybody. So worried about the border. But what about the airports and the docks? You know, where the wealthier, undocumented immigrants come through. I mean, you're so worried about that. Seeing how we have Border Patrol and ICE, that's unnecessary. Why not make one of them the division that goes out and collects up all those people who intentionally get a visa with no intention to ever renew it? Instead of trying to get rid of the people who keep our economy moving. Because if that's the case, stop giving little Miss Scam a Bitch Netflix specials and why she hauled up on house arrest in a Manhattan condo. Little Miss Anna Delvey, undocumented than a motherfucker, done committed crimes, done had to be in prison. But we black and brown ones, we're the problem. We're the problem. Child. Now coming from CNBC.com, in the wake of we should have seen this coming, because like every good avalanche, it just takes one wayward snowflake. Pharmacy staff from Walgreens, other chain, could stage nationwide walkout and rallies in coming weeks. If you need to pick up any prescriptions, move them along. Get them out before November 1st. Get them out before November 1st. We want everybody to be paid properly, but we don't want anybody having any medical complications, okay? Okay. Here are the key points. Pharmacy staff from Walgreens are laying the groundwork for a nationwide walkout and multiple rallies at the end of October to protest unsatisfactory working conditions and are in talks with employees from other retail pharmacies about joining them, CNBC has learned. Those potential plans, which some CVS employees are considering joining in, reflect years of growing discontent among retail pharmacy staff. One organizer sees nationwide walkouts across several retail pharmacy chains as the next step in the fight against current working conditions for pharmacists, pharmacy techs, and other support staff. Now, I wanted to point this potential strikeout in particular because this is one we really got to watch. Don't start cheering for them right away. And let me explain. No, I'm not a hater. You should know me better than that by now. But let's not forget what Walgreens employees and too many of their pharmacists have also been fighting for. The right to deny you the ability to purchase anything or to have access to your prescriptions dependent upon their personal beliefs, if it offends them or not, if it's a part of their lifestyle or not. So we have to really watch this to see what they try to toss in to this employment contract. Because we don't want to be cheering them along. And then you got to be cheering along a bunch of children that you didn't want, or you got an itch you can't get rid of, or our brothers, sisters, and cousins in the trans community can't get what they need. So with this one, we got to watch. Okay? We got to watch. And be careful what we cheer for. We want people to get paid properly. We want people to have proper working conditions, okay? We're not trying for nobody to be working in coal mining, sweatshop conditions, being paid well below their worth. But we got to watch. We have to be honest about who we're dealing with in certain circumstances and certain situations. Context and nuance is everything. And if you thought we were done with Podiumgate, we're not. We're not. Who needs soap operas when you live in 2023? Let's roll them!
I'm Ben Meiselas from the Midas Touch Network. Busted. MAGA Republican Sarah Huckabee Sanders, governor of Arkansas, has been caught in a major political scandal that may not only lead to her being removed forcibly as the governor of Arkansas as things progress, she may indeed be arrested and charged with multiple felonies under state and federal law. This scandal is being referred to as Lecterngate because it involves a very odd purchase made by the governor's office of a $19,000 lectern. But it turns out that the money doesn't seem like it was really intended for a lectern, because the lectern itself wasn't $19,000. The lectern at most was $7,500 if it was real, but it seems like it was a fake. And then it seems like numerous documents were manipulated and tampered with to try to cover up where the money that was reportedly going to this lectern, where it was really going originally. Let's unfold Lecterngate, shall we? So back in June of this summer, Sarah Huckabee Sanders was seen partying in Paris with her friends, her friend Virginia Beckett and Virginia Beckett's friend Hannah Stone. And Hannah Stone seems to have some connections with Sarah Huckabee Sanders as well. Hannah Stone was one of the organizers of the January 6th insurrection. And Beckett and Hannah Stone, after the Trump administration, Beckett started a new consulting firm called Beckett Events, which has nothing to do at all with lecterns or podiums or anything like that. But you had Beckett and Stone partying with Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Paris. Seems like it was a very expensive trip. And of course, it would be very inappropriate if, say, the state of Arkansas used taxpayer funds to fund this lavish trip in Paris by Virginia Beckett and Hannah Stone, wouldn't it be? So put that to aside for a moment. Enter Matt Campbell, a well-known blogger and lawyer in the Arkansas area in Little Rock, who's known for making public records requests and calling out corruption at all levels of government. Matt Campbell makes a Freedom of Information Act request under Arkansas's law back in June, around the same time when this lavish trip to Paris took place. And some documents are turned over. Lots of documents are withheld. But Matt Campbell starts looking at these and he notices a very strange charge. Okay, Amazon, $230 here. Another payment to Amazon over here. A photo payment over here. Beckett Events, LLC. $19,029.25. What could that be? And yes, we did see Virginia Beckett and Hannah Stone partying in Paris. What's this $19,000? Like any good Freedom of Information Act detective, Matt Campbell homed in on that amount and asked additional Freedom of Information.
Honey. Now leave it to a man to mess up Podiumgate and start calling it lectern. Who the fuck says lectern? What this? Or tonight, can I have a spot of tea from 1825? Is he discussing, madam? Coming from karc.com, audit of $19,000 podium purchased by Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders' office likely to begin Friday. The Legislative Audit Executive Committee voted Thursday to look into a podium purchase by Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders' office. The podium has received pushback because receipts show the total purchase added up to more than $19,000. This goes to show just how stupid the GOP is. Out of all the things that need to be purchased for the governor's mansion, regarding travel expenses and everything else for the governor, they decided we're going to put the Paris trip on the podium. Some on social media are referring to the ordeal as Podiumgate. I told you, leave it to a man to try to mansplain what we... Him and Elon Musk renaming our children. What is in question is how the purchase was made and the hefty price tag. The podium was originally paid for with Arkansas tax dollars through the Republican Party of Arkansas, though the Republican Party of Arkansas later reimbursed the state for it. And didn't even go on Amazon and buy a backup podium to show to people. They photoshopped it into a picture. Y'all remember that? Senator Jimmy Hickey, Republican of Texarkana, requested the audit. He noted in his statements that he learned this week that the reimbursement came the day legislators left the Capitol following the special session where a new, more narrow Freedom of Information Act was signed into law. You know, y'all should get these acts signed before you do your dirty work. Y'all don't watch none of the crime shows. Y'all, no CSI, no NCIS, no Law and Order, no nothing. You ain't watched none of the Godfathers, not Casino, nothing. Lord. The reimbursement needs to be looked at, he told members of the committee. Members voted to pass 3 parts of the auditing request, allowing them to also look into expenditures dating back to June of 2022 and requiring them to develop procedures for their reporting of their findings. A finding would be anything from whether or not they violated a policy or procedure or whether or not a law was violated. Republican and committee co-chair Representative Jimmy Gazaway said it can mean any number of things. While the issue appears partisan, with many Democrats behind the questioning, Gazaway reiterated that the committee is a nonpartisan independent group and the expedited auditing process will likely begin as soon as Friday, pending full approval from the committee. How does it appear partisan? The first statement came from a damn Republican. And then she forgets she used the Republican money. She dipped into the Republican purse. Are y'all not learning anything, you MAGAs, from Trump? Y'all don't see what's going on? And y'all don't see that people singing like these birds? Yeah. I swear. I swear. I swear. I swear. I'm yawns. Ned Hollins, you knew we weren't going to end this show without talking about, as the Capitol turns, the race for Speaker Mountain.
So as you know, the vote for Speaker of the House was today, and Jim Jordan did not receive the votes. But here's Brian Kilmeade caught on a hot mic calling Don Bacon a dumbass for voting for Kevin McCarthy.
Bacon. McCarthy.
Dumbass. So we all know that Fox News is in the tank for Republicans, but Brian Kilmeade calling someone a dumbass is the epitome of pot meat kettle. But it gets worse, because when Elise Stefanik nominated Jim Jordan for Speaker, she insulted all of our intelligence with this crap.
Our friend and colleague Jim Jordan is a patriot. He is an America First warrior who wins the toughest of fights, going after corruption and delivering accountability at the highest levels of government on behalf of we, the people. Jim is the voice of the American people who have felt voiceless for far too long.
Let me stop her right there real quick. By the voice of the voiceless, she must mean the insurrectionists whom he incited to go to the Capitol on January 6th and try to overturn democracy.
Whether as Judiciary Chair, conservative leader, or representative for his constituents in West Central Ohio, whether on the wrestling mat or in the committee room, Jim Jordan is strategic, scrappy, tough, and principled.
I can't believe she brought up wrestling, where Jim Jordan strategically stayed silent after finding out that wrestlers he coached were being abused. Jim Jordan is the opposite of principled, and the fact that she's standing up there saying that should really piss you off. The Republican Party is an embarrassment to America. In the last 9 months, while they've been in control of the House, they have accomplished nothing but corruption, chaos, and destruction of the democratic process. Period.
Now let's start this with yesterday and bring it up to today, okay? Now, we know that today there was a House floor vote set for noon. Jordan appeared to be the front runner. He won Friday's internal election and was working on a pressure strategy to secure votes, but was still facing a pretty steep uphill battle as of yesterday. If no speaker was chosen by today, it was proposed to empower the pro temp in order to get certain items passed. That would require the assistance of the Democrats. Jordan had, on paper, through these anonymous secret votes, made major strides in flipping key votes. He was told by the following people that they would vote for him: Mike Rogers, the chair of the House Armed Services; Ken Calvert, the Defense Appropriations Committee chair; Ann Wagon, a Scalise ally; Vern Buchanan, a Scalise ally; and Drew Ferguson, a Scalise ally. And those flips were made within 12 hours over the weekend. Some Democrats question if it was a good move in helping to oust McCarthy. Representative McCall, who is a Republican, said, if we cannot pick a speaker, we'll have to go to the Dems. That's me paraphrasing what he said. Now, the next vote is tomorrow at 11 a.m. McCarthy was hella entertained during the voting today. I did not do a live broadcasting of the voting because I wasn't sure if they were going to do back to back like they did the last time. And don't nobody had a patience for that. But let's be real. So I just put up different clips. Some of the Republicans are considering to just return McCarthy to the speakership. Like, what y'all take him out for? Austin Scott, who, if you all remember, at the end of last week threw his hat in the ring, he was not even nominated on the floor today. How embarrassing. How embarrassing for you. And keep in mind, this marks 2 weeks without having a speaker and just a speaker pro temp. And speaking of the speaker pro temp, I'm going to get it together, y'all. It has been suggested that for 30 days, he should be empowered as the speaker. So once again, they can get things done. And there are people, including an Ohio newspaper, that full article is over on my TikTok page from earlier today, that says that a Jordan speakership will cost not just the Republican Party future elections, including those coming up for the Senate, but it would turn into an axis of evil that would include Donald John Trump. And also, the biggest thing, they seem to have forgotten that they still need to put forth a budget to the Senate that can be agreed upon and voted in and gotten to the desk of Joseph, idiotic Zionist. He about to lose the damn everything for all of us, Biden. And without a budget, we will hit a government shutdown in 1 month. And for all of you all that are popping in from all of the videos that I've put up on Palestine, I saw a couple of y'all comments. I deleted them, but like I said before, I don't really go back through the comments on here after I get off live. So you can say whatever the hell you want to say. It's not going to affect me. I'm not about to cry. And right now I am running off of adrenaline and caffeine. So if you trickle over to any other social media platform of mine, you get what you get. Okay. I'm holly jolly, good time over here. Okay. You follow me elsewhere. I am a non-benevolent heathen. Okay, that enjoys you crying in the middle of traffic. All right. Same reason that they did the last time. They don't want to just not vote for anybody, and they're kind of like sending a message to each other. They look at it like a big game. So that's why they vote. One person voted for Emmer, Ken Buck. And I have a video of Ken Buck explaining why he did it. And he said that he did it as a joke. People voting for Scalise. They're a bunch of kindergartners. They're a bunch of kindergartners. And at this point, as I keep saying, according to the Constitution, it has been a tradition that the majority party picks the speaker. Constitutionally, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't. It does not have to be that way. They can just say, the Democrats can just say, okay, y'all had y'all chance. This is the vote. Jeffries has the votes. We saw that today. He's going to be the speaker. It's just a tradition that the majority party picks the Speaker of the House. It is not constitutional. It is not a requirement at all. Not at all. All right. Now, I keep going back to check, and I know that I put a bunch of links in the description of this video, but I am not seeing them pop up. But after we wrap this, if they're not there, I will go back through and put them back in there. But just to let y'all know real quick, there was yet another treacherous January 6th involvee participant that was sentenced today. Y'all want to look at it? I know you want to look at it. I know you want to look at it. I know you want to see it. Oh, peeping Tom asses. Here you go.
Yesterday, I told you guys about Rachel Powell, the traitor who is being sentenced today for her part in the January 6th insurrection. Today in court, she tried her best to express her regret. But unfortunately for her, the judge wasn't really having it and sentenced her to 5 years in federal prison. And although I would have loved to see her get 8 years, I'm happy she got at least 5. Because here's the deal. She has no regret. On Steve Bannon's show yesterday, she had her kid front and center in the shot wearing a Make America Great Again hat. And she was trying to say that what she did on that day didn't warrant 5 years in prison. But here's a video from the Midas Touch Network that shows her part in the insurrection on January 6th. Yeah, that's definitely a crime. You broke into the Capitol and then took a bullhorn and tried to coordinate the insurrectionists to take the building. I can't wait till every one of these people are held accountable and sentenced to prison. I am 100% enjoying their downfall. And although I hope he gets his at some point and is held accountable, I also think it's funny that the person they did this for is still sitting outside of prison, partying in Mar-a-Lago, golfing all he wants, and not giving one shit about the people sitting in jail awaiting trial. Period.
And you know, there are people online going, you know, without the January 6th people, we wouldn't be able to challenge the speakership like this. Motherfucker, y'all challenging each other. And the January 6th idiots did nothing. Okay. They did nothing. They accomplished nothing. Okay. They were not great martyrs. Okay. They're not heroic historical figures. They're idiots. They're idiots. They're idiots that not only put themselves in prison, but decrease their chances of employment and put themselves in a position where they can't even vote for the people they want to vote for. As always, thank y'all for watching me over here. I'm going to go get the skinny on this new deposition that Trump is supposed to be giving on Thursday. So I'll update y'all on that tonight over on TikTok. Everything else I will bring to you tomorrow. And as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. Go out there and shake up the world.